Call the Planning Commission meeting to order for July 31st. If you please rise, say the pledge in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Amen.
All right, clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Dan Schmidt.
Yes,
Scott
present.
Stager.
Present.
Daniel Malago.
Here.
Maria Mills-Benay.
Here.
Bo Bofemi.
I'm here.
Thomas Jordan.
Here. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item, the discussion action consideration of minutes from the last meeting.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 2025.
I'll second.
Thank you. We got a motion and a second, either one, Bo or Daniel. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, moving into our first case tonight here. Is case number VARC-25-0003. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve.
I guess that's good enough.
Second.
VARC-25-0003.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Motion and a second. This is a request for variances from Chapter 12, Section 6B, and Chapter 13, Section 3D of the Land Development Code to reduce the parking space width and right-of-way landscape buffer requirements at 5784 Taylor Branch Road. Penelope.
Yes, good evening. Penelope Cruz Planning. The subject property is approximately 0.58 acres and it's located along 3 roadways, Dunlop Avenue, Taylor Branch Road, and Journey's End Way. It was previously developed, as you all know, as a gas station with a convenience store, which has been abandoned for some time now. On the screen, you'll see there in the staff report the general concept plan that's proposed right now for a Dutch Brothers coffee shop with a drive-through. And in order to support the redevelopment of this site, it does require the variances that were described, basically 2 landscape buffers of the 3, the one along Dunlawton and Taylor Branch Road. So they're asking for a variable width landscape buffer with a maximum width of 12 feet wide, and 5 feet is the narrowest spot along Taylor Branch. And you can see here along Taylor Branch, it really just goes down to that narrow width in this one area here. The majority of it would be the 12 foot. And then also a variable width buffer along Dunlawton, which would go from about 5.5 feet to 12 feet along this area, which is behind the 50-foot FDOT green space that's part of the right-of-way there. And also a third one for a parking space width of 9 feet in lieu of the city's 10-foot current standard. Later on the agenda, you'll see a code amendment where we're asking to make the standard 9 feet. So the applicant has asked for these variances in order to accommodate the redevelopment of the site, like I said, with the Dutch Brothers coffee shop with a drive-through, as well as other required site improvements. It's typical for infill sites, especially small ones like this that are very constrained, being buffered on, having 3 roadway frontages to require variances. Our code, like we've talked about in the past, is designed to be kind of a green fill requirement for typical standard size lots that are able to meet those requirements. Most infill redevelopment projects require usually about 5 to 6 or more variances. This one is 3. So the applicant has indicated that they're going to make every effort that even in these reduced size buffers that they're asking for to maximize the installation of landscaping to make the most impactful buffers that they can in that space. And also, like I said, this buffer here along Dunlawton does have an additional 50 feet of green space before you're on the actual paved roadway there, which also acts as a separation and buffer there. Let's see. So even with those reduced buffers, as you can see, as we're looking at the current conditions now, there's really nothing planted there. There's just a handful of existing trees and some old there's some vines growing on the chain link fence, but there's really nothing else there. So even with that reduced buffer, it's gonna make a pretty significant impact as far as the appearance of a main entranceway into the city. The applicant is also requesting for approval for 9-foot spaces to accommodate the required number of spaces as well as their operational demands for this use. This 9-foot space requirement is very common throughout other cities in the region. There was a table in the staff report that basically showed that this is the standard in many other cities around here. Our city has also approved many master development agreements for PCDs to allow 9-foot spaces and some variances for this over the past 15 years or so. And so we've been able to observe how they function in the real world. Many of our shopping centers have these 9-foot spaces. And so based on that experience over the past 15 years, as well as engineering standards that are in place, this is in compliance with that, and it still provides, plenty of space for your standard passenger vehicle. So if the variance is granted, this will assist with redeveloping this site along Dunlawton Avenue, Dunlawton Corridor, which is a main entrance into our city, in a manner that would improve the overall appearance of the site in this area of town. The staff report also included a detailed review of the variance criteria, and based on that review, staff is recommending approval of the variance as requested.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Penny?
I'm good.
Maria? Bo?
Yeah, I have one real quick on the ICD interchange commercial. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
It's a standard zoning district that we have. It's one of the conventional zoning districts.
We only have
So-
17 of them in the city, according to your.
Yeah, so if you look on the zoning map, which I don't have here in front of me right now, but if you look on the zoning map, it's kind of a maroon red color. It's the darker red color on the zoning map. A lot of the, where BJ's and all that is, there's portions of that area that have that color. Where Advent Health is,
Yeah,
that area has that color on the map. And then also on the other side of Williamson, on Taylor, there's a few properties. It's basically on the zoning map right around the interchange, along Taylor and Dunlop, and there's several parcels right around the interchange that have that zoning.
what's the intent of that zoning? I mean, what does it predicate? Is it based on?
It's just a higher intensity commercial, interchange commercial, so it's just, it allows for some more intense commercial uses that are more typically appropriate around interchanges and maybe wouldn't be appropriate, say, at a neighborhood scale or a lower commercial node.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Yeah, one question, probably obvious, but it looks like the driveway on Taylor Branch is not gonna be used. 'Cause right now
No,
it's
they're
blocked.
closing, that's required to be closed off, and so they're complying with that, and they're closing that off, so that'll be a much safer, design in this area as well.
Perfect, okay, thank you. That's it.
Scott?
I guess I can't drive my dually to the coffee shop.
No. Have
No, I
to take
think it's
Gina's
great.
car.
Over the curb. You good?
Yes.
Stan?
Pretty much the same thing. So you're gonna loop in, you're gonna loop around the building, come back to the parking lot, and then you're gonna go out the same entrance
Yes,
on Journey's End that you
Yeah.
went in on.
yep, right here.
And that's, took me a while to figure that out. First of all, I was trying to figure out exactly where is this, and I'm going,
Yeah.
he drives past it all the time. One of those days. Right now, that's good for me.
Okay.
Cool. I have a couple questions. So, let's talk about trees, landscaping, that kind of stuff. We're reducing the width dramatically, but we have a requirement for how many bushes, shrubs, trees need to go in there? Is that correct?
So they're obviously not going to be able to plant the quantity that you would normally fit, say, in a 20-foot buffer in a 12-foot space, because they just won't survive, right?
Right.
But we're working with them to create an impactful buffer that can fit as much as, so we're basically trying to go somewhere between what the requirement is between a 10 and a 20, and get as much in there that will create the biggest impact. So being conscious about the types of trees and shrubs that are used to make the biggest impact, but also make sure that they thrive, that you're not just putting them in for quantity's sake and they're not gonna survive, right? So we're working we're working with the landscape architect right now as they're preparing their initial designs in hopes that this will be approved.
So does the regulations give us that leeway to say, okay, we can't fit the required numbers in there? but we can fit X amount of that in there? Is that flexible
Yes,
like
because
that?
you're approving, if you approve the smaller buffer, then the lesser requirements would apply.
Okay,
Yeah, so you wouldn't be required to plant the quantities that were required in a 20-foot buffer
Right.
if you approve a smaller size. Mhm.
So
So
they
the
were-
closest would be the 10-foot buffer, but we've asked them to go above that, right? And try to go
Right.
somewhere in between 10 and 20.
right.
So if 20 requires 4 shade trees, 4 understory, and however many shrubs, 30 or something like that, and 10 is two shade, then we'll say try to fit 3 per 100 linear feet, type of thing. Like let's
Okay.
try to find we're gonna try to see. We don't want to force it in a way that would not make it sustainable, but they're working to try to fit as much in that smaller space as possible.
Okay.
Mhm.
The reduction along Dunlawton Avenue, I know years ago when they created the concept of the Dunlawton corridor there, they wanted a lot of space from the roadways to where actual development occurred. So we're gonna be shortening that down on this particular property, right?
Yes, however, in this particular property, which is not the case on other properties, like if you go further east from here, you basically you have the right of way, which is not that far off the sidewalk, and then it gets right into the property and you get into their 50-foot buffer. Here in this location, you still have 50
50-foot
feet
right-of-way.
of green space that is within the right of way that acts as an additional buffer before you get into the private property. So that's why staff felt like that was still enough separation there. And right
Yeah.
now, there's no buffer.
I understand
Yeah.
that, yeah. But we're still cutting into the
Yeah, I mean,
what's been desired for,
basically,
decades.
we're forcing them to put what's required as far as buffers, the property's not developable.
I understand that.
Yeah, I think in the staff report, there was a section that kind of went over what would be left. I think it would only leave 9,790 square feet of area to try to develop with, which is nowhere near what anybody, other properties, the average in this zoning district is over 83,000 square feet of developable area. So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it would basically render the property undevelopable.
But it is theoretical that someday the FDOT could come along and say, hey, you know what, we're gonna widen Dunlawton. And we can take some of that 50 feet.
I mean, anything could happen, but I
Right.
think they've made most of the improvements that they're gonna make in this area for this interchange. We went through the
Call
improvements already.
improvements, that's.
I know, not everybody
questionable.
would call it an improvement.
The other questions I've
Depends on
got
where you
would
are.
be, I know traffic is not part of our decision, but my concern is, at one point, a portion of Taylor Branch was considered over capacity.
It's labeled as a constrained facility, so
Okay.
it's not an area where we are looking to widen or do anything like that because there's no space for that. And so basically we focus on other types of improvements. Like right now, the city is working to extend this sidewalk here along Taylor Branch Road through a grant with the TPO. So that's actually going to probably happen right before you would see something happening on this property. That's actively moving forward right now. So we're looking at different types of improvements in and around that area as far as pedestrian mobility and intersection improvements.
So long as we're helping to fix pieces around there, we're still allowed to operate Taylor Branch at a constrained level.
Yeah,
Is that
it's in
right?
our comp plan that's designated as a constrained and that we
Right.
can't widen it or anything like that. And I mean, the prior use on here is a gas station convenience store, which
Yeah.
is, similar type. This is probably gonna be more pass by traffic, on the way to other places.
My
or
biggest
stuff, 'cause there's
concern,
other-
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead, go
My
ahead.
biggest concern is I watch Starbucks there in front
Mm-hmm.
of Lowe's, and those people are nuts. First of all, I don't know why they buy that stuff, but they're out onto the travel lanes in front of Lowe's for hours every morning and even in the evenings. And that's my concern here, and I see you've got 2 lanes, so you're kind of going with what the Chick-fil-A concept. Let's move them through here. But I'm concerned because we've had the previous general manager of Country Inn and Suites would scream for hours and multiple days throughout the school year about how horrible traffic was down there at Journey's End and Taylor Branch when school was in session,
But
and
it's-
everybody's going through there and basically stopped. So are we exacerbating that issue?
I mean,
here?
we don't have a traffic analysis right now. This is a
Right.
variance. They haven't submitted a site plan yet. We don't have any of that, and that would be reviewed at the site plan level if this gets approved.
Right.
You know, they're right now just doing preliminary looks at how to establish things to get a site plan ready if this gets approved. So at that level, we have to review it for concurrency and functionality of traffic out there.
But concurrency still doesn't really, it seems like we say the word concurrency, but because it's a constrained road already, we just go ahead and ignore that because we're
Not-
putting money into other elements that we're allowed to do by law.
Other elements that would help the general area and flow of traffic.
Right.
Not just arbitrary other elements, so
I understand.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, that's what I had for you.
I have another question. Is this an owner-operated,
I don't have the
business?
answer to that.
Okay, so the applicant isn't the operator? Is that what?
The applicant of the variance is the engineer
Uh-huh.
that's gonna be preparing the
Okay, that
plans.
was
Mhm.
part of my question.
Mhm.
So the property wasn't just acquired, it wasn't sold? or
Not, not yet, they haven't, no one's closed on it yet.
Okay.
They want, obviously, if they don't get the variance,
Well, I'm
it doesn't
trying to
happen.
understand- I'm trying to understand who's building the coffee shop.
Dutch Brothers, the company, the corporation Dutch Brothers, as far as how it's, okay, the applicant can speak to that as far as like actually running the store.
Yeah, so it's a
But, yeah.
franchise
The applicant's here and they can speak to that.
Okay, because I'm just trying to understand, you know, why they picked this site, knowing all the constraints that existed there. And, you know, there's a lot to overcome
A
there.
lot of people driving by that site that want to
It's a
drink
good
coffee.
site, yeah.
I want to stay out of the other lane on the other competitor's
Yeah.
place. Good question, Marie?
Not really a question, more of a statement about your traffic issue, which I totally understand. The problem there is I don't think you're gonna have any more traffic during school hours than you already have because of this coffee shop. I think actually it might clear it up a little bit because the kids are gonna be in the drive-through instead of on Taylor Branch, getting their coffee in the morning. But I think you need to know that don't go there till like 1. But but I don't
Dutch
think
Brothers doesn't want to hear you say that.
Dutch Brothers don't have enough employees to take us all and the school. But I truly don't think you're going to have any more traffic constraints than we already have during school hours there. Go to Dutch Bros in the summer.
Anything else for Penny? All right, the applicant, if you'd like to come up.
Good evening, Bob Ziegenfuss, Z Development Services, 1201 East Robinson Street in Orlando, Florida. The site that's difficult to redevelop. So it's a triangular shaped site, very small as we've talked about here today. I think the staff and thank Penelope and the staff for putting together that great report. I think it explains a lot in there as I read through it, and I'm sure you have too. To kind of tag on to what Penelope said in some of the conversations that have been had. When we talk about the landscaping, one thing the triangular shaped site does for you, and I don't know if we can pull that site plan back up, Penelope? You have the leftover pieces in the corners. So one of the things we were thinking about as we were starting to contemplate the landscape plan was if you take a look at the pieces in the corners, you'll see that you have a significant amount of area that can be planted there, and those are focal points. Those are intersection locations. So you can really do something good at the intersection. You have plenty of room there. I can tell you with the widths, with the 10-foot and the 12-foot widths, and even down to the 6-foot width that you see in the landscape buffer along Dunlawton, typical shade trees can be planted in 8 feet. So in that area along Dunlawton, I see us in those two corners doing something to really flank either end of the site and do something special there because you've got the narrow width of that 6 feet, but we'll have no problem with the larger shade trees in the 10 and 12 foot wide buffers. The standard, like Orange County, for instance, shade trees 8 feet. That's what
Okay.
so 10 and 12 feet are good, significant areas to get those shade trees into. And then with those corners to flank either end on Dunlawton, we feel like we can do something significant for this corner that obviously isn't there today. The parking spaces, I could go on and on. One of the main things that's being done is they are mostly, and I would tell you, take your dually wherever you want to, because it can go wherever you want it to.
Yeah, that 9 feet is pretty typical.
But, and you know, take park line to line. They'll fit, but they take line to line, and it's hard to open the doors on them. But you know, people are tending towards smaller vehicles, and really it comes into a lot of the things that are being done in low impact design with stormwater management, smaller parking spaces, smaller parking lots, less runoff. Those types of things are all coming into play these days in some of the codes around Central Florida. So. With that, I'll be quiet and let you ask me any questions that you might have. I guess let me speak to traffic a little bit since it was mentioned, right? They typically like to see 15 cars in their drive-through. This particular one has 17. We've got 17 shown there underneath the drive-through label that you see on that site plan. Those are cars 16 and 17. So you could actually stack a 18, 19 to 20. You'll get up to 20 before you're ever out onto Journey's End and trying to block any traffic. So it is a significant number. They do the Chick-fil-A model. They've got the people out there. I guess it was a Chick-fil-A model post-COVID. They've got the people outside now. So they're out there with iPads. The people that haven't ordered ahead already, they're taking their orders. And the throughput, as you've seen, that's why everybody's doing it. We did a Starbucks recently, did their first double drive-through. Popeyes, Chipotle, Small Sliders, all these new concepts coming in are all doing these double drive-throughs because they're seen to push the cars through more and get them through there quicker. So we feel like there is a sufficient amount of stacking there as well. And we'll address that as we go forward into the site plan review. So now I will be quiet and let you ask any questions you might have of me.
Stan, start with you.
As I said, we kind of answered a lot of this, that there's not going to be any turn into here's off of Taylor Branch Road. The entry will be off of the Journey's End. And other than that, I mean, you stuck a lot of stuff into a small space, and it will definitely be nicer looking than the abandoned Amoco station that's been there for a long time. So I think it'll be a win for the city. And I think you were mentioning there's no sitting in this restaurant. This is
Yes, thank you for mentioning. Yeah. It's the only people inside the restaurant are the employees. There's no indoor seating, so there is a walk-up window where they can park, and there usually 7 or 8 employees in that building max shift. It's less than 1,000 square feet. How many people? And let me tell you, I sit down on the architectural calls because we're doing quite a few of these. They have made good use of that space. And so so they've got enough room that you could have a couple, 5, 6 vehicles there to go and park and use the window if they wanted to. So they do have that walk up that's under that canopy that's on the southeast or southwest side of the building there, along Dunlawton.
that's with a little 3. I assume they're
that's
posts,
a
that's
canopy.
cover.
That's a covered canopy. I actually, and I apologize, I thought it was part of the presentation, but we did submit some elevations of what the building does look like, and I can pass that around if you care to look at it. But that is a canopy area, a covered canopy area with they have a walk-up window.
Is
No,
that
I think that clears it for me. Go ahead.
Scott?
I'm be really happy to see something there, and any landscape buffer around that is going to be better than what is currently not in existence there. I think that corner has been sort of a blight for a pretty long time. I think creative use of that narrower space going up along Dunlawton can cover any issues there, and I don't see that 50-foot wide buffer being impeded on, at least not anytime in the near future. And I did a little bit of research just because I don't always drive a dually, but sometimes it's hard to park. And 9 feet is kind of where everybody seems to be going. 8.5 to 9 seems to be pretty typical. I think New Smyrna is the only place that's
8.5 is a parking garage typically.
Yeah.
And which is really tight. But
Yeah, I don't drive a dually
9 by
ever.
18 is by far the industry standard on the size of parking stalls.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it was common, so I don't see any issues with that at all. I'm good.
Daniel?
Only thing I'll add is, as an owner of a GMC Yukon, I really hate tight parking spaces. My doors are dinged up.
We're all
People
truck
just,
people.
Where's Newton? He used to always complain about the parking spaces.
so that's probably my only distaste. Otherwise, I'd love to see this place develop too. Sure.
Thank you.
Bo?
Yeah, how's the coffee?
You know,
Really good.
it is. There's.
good.
I've had their coffee. It's good. It ranks probably on the upper end of the scale for me. They're really well known for, I call them milkshakes with espresso in them. So they've got a lot of those types of drinks, and they're very popular with
That's my vibe.
the young crowd. They've got a following. I call it.
Bo doesn't know what you're talking about.
Similar like a Ben and Jerry's type of following. You know, they've got this underground roots.
I'll see you after the meeting.
You see how many
Right
Wawas are
there
built in
with you.
Florida?
Yeah.
You're going to see that many Dutch Bros.
Well, this is
they're-
gonna have a lot to do with my vote, so,
If
That's
the
good
coffee's
to
good.
hear.
Should
Yeah.
he have brought
Sugar with
samples?
coffee.
it's worth a try.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Look, this place has been a gas station or an abandoned gas station since I was a kid, and I realize I'm only 25. But since I was a kid, this place has been a disaster. So I am super, super excited. When I opened my packet, I squealed. I am super, super excited about this. I know it's a tight space. And can we convince you to also take the gas station spot next to Waffle House?
The vape shop. It's a vape shop now.
No,
It was again.
Temporarily.
Yeah,
Temporarily.
it
This
won't
week.
last
Yeah,
long.
This
right,
week, yeah.
temporarily.
But yeah, I'm super excited about it. I think it will. I think it'll be a great addition to the city, and I can't wait.
Great, thank you.
Good. Yeah, my concern's always been, on just looking at this one, is the keeping the Dunlawton corridor within the vision of what it was originally done, and they stuck by that rule on a lot of different cases. They wanted to make sure that it was not a Granada. They wanted to be, you know, a beautiful route there. So long as the landscaping is done right, I'm really comfortable with that.
Yeah, they are committed. They realize that. I was talking so the property, this is a lease to the corporation. The corporation will be building it. It is a corporation store. It's not a franchisee. I know that came up as well. And it is a long-term lease with the person that we're working with that's developing the property for them. And so we've discussed that with them, and they're committed to do something really nice there, and they're to the point where they've got us, you know, already working on making sure that we put together a plan that's satisfactory. So I'm sure Penelope will hold us to that when we come in. I've worked with her through more than a couple of projects, so I'm sure she'll hold us to that as we come through the plan review
I
process.
appreciate that. Yeah, every lawyer that comes in says that.
You're gonna
too.
have to face. You're gonna have to face Lance, and he's gonna tell you not to have a Waffle House
I'm an
size
engineer.
sign.
Yeah.
and I am a man of my word, so yeah.
Yeah,
no,
where is
we
the
have
sign
discussed
for
it.
this place? Is there a?
There
I
is an
didn't see it on
existing,
here.
yeah, there is an existing sign that's called out there on your site plan, right
Oh.
above where it says 12 foot in that highlighted area along
At
Dunlawton.
this point.
That's the existing tenant sign there. That's the
I guess,
existing
yeah.
sign,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that where you're gonna keep the sign?
Correct.
Okay.
Beautiful. Okay. Any other questions?
Is that an elevation there that you have?
Yes, yeah, feel free I'll give it to
You
you.
guys all
I
good?
thought it was, I know it was part of a package that we had submitted.
Yeah, I was just passing around.
Pass it around.
We started this mess, so.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Public comment. Anyone in the room that would like to speak to this particular case?
Where's Robert?
Man,
Yeah,
Robert
probably
must
didn't
be
show
home.
up.
Where's Robert?
I don't know.
Looks like
Anybody
that,
calling?
For our
Check out.
attendance down for a unexcused absence.
Yeah, yeah. He's probably watching live. So.
Yeah, I
Hey,
mentioned Robert
Um,
earlier.
okay, no public comment. We'll bring it back to the commission here.
Clyde Morris.
Any comments, discussion, anything else anybody wants to say?
I'm good.
You good? You guys good? Cool. We'll go ahead and take a vote, please, if you could call the roll.
Stanchvik,
Aye.
Scottstager,
Yes.
Daniel Malaga,
Yes.
Maria Mills Bonet,
Yes.
Bill Bofemi,
Yes,
Tom Jordan.
Yes. Passes. Congratulations. All right, moving on to the next case. It's case number DCAM-24-0002. It's a Land Development Code text amendment in Chapter 15. I can get a motion?
Motion to approve case number DCAM-24-0002.
Second.
Motion and a second. Hmm? Am I in the right one?
Are we on number 6?
Nope, we're on number 5.
Oh,
You jumped
my
ahead.
apologies. Yeah,
I
I
know.
jumped ahead.
They move the text around on these things, just to confuse
It
us.
was amended.
Yeah, this is, I'll read it real quickly here. Request by Lamar Advertising Company to amend the Land Development Code to allow billboard owners to submit a reconstruction agreement for approval. The amendment would allow for the conversion of an existing static billboard sign face to a digital sign face in exchange for the removal of other billboard sign faces within the city of Port Orange. It also, amendment also establishes criteria and standards for the placement and operation of reconstructed digital signboard faces. Hi, Tim.
Afternoon. Tim Berman, Community Development. I think everyone was here back in December when this amendment first came before you. Basically, the request at that time was to allow for the billboards to be removed in exchange for removal of sign faces. They could install LED message boards there. At that initial amendment, the location where those LED signs could be placed on was I-95. After the Planning Commission approved that item, before it went to City Council, the applicant reevaluated their request and had requested that they also include the ability to reinstall a billboard on Ridgewood Avenue in addition to the I-95 corridor then. Since that was a change from what the Planning Commission had initially approved, we had to bring the item back before the Planning Commission. So the request now has been revised to allow for billboards, again, to be reconstructed or refaced with an LED sign in exchange for the removal of 2 static sign faces. However, now it allows the option to either reinstall or put an LED sign on both I-95 on existing billboards, or reconstruct or put on Ridgewood Avenue too. Then, the other aspects of the code amendment, in terms of the criteria for what that LED sign has to be in terms of size, size of it, basically, the message timing there, none of that has changed. Same thing with the cleanup items that we had indicated in that staff report then too. The only thing that has changed from the applicant has requested to allow it on either I-95 or Ridgewood Avenue, and they are here to further discuss their overall request and the change that's being proposed.
Who wants to start? Maria? Got a question?
My
comment
only
for Tim?
question is, are these more sturdy and stable during a hurricane? Do we
I'll
know?
let that to the billboard company, basically discuss that, or the applicant for them in terms of the
just
structure.
curious.
They would be required to,
Because I
anything
think that'd be good.
anything that would be rebuilt would be required to get a building permit and meet all the applicable building codes there. But they can give you a little bit more detail if they build higher standards than what it does in the storm bin.
Got it.
Oh,
So the overall objective here is we're actually trying to reduce the number of signs.
It is objective to reduce number of sign faces within basically Port Orange there, is what this objective of their proposed code amendment is.
And we're trading out upgrades for surrender spaces.
Yeah, the intent
basically.
is to get rid of static signs. In exchange, you allow them to do an LED sign then, essentially. So every 2 static signs that are removed, they can do 1 LED sign. There is that was a trade-off then.
But it has to be in existing locations. is that
Yes,
correct?
existing locations of signs. No new locations of signs can propose with this then. So,
Okay, thank you.
so yeah, there's multiple locations on I-95 that we indicated that the company owns there then too. And then there's the 1 location on Ridgewood, and that was, I think, graphic shown in the staff report then.
Thanks.
let me say something before I get to you. So, this, I remember when this came through. It came through, it went, before it got to city council, they said, ooh, we want to change it?
Yes, it did not go.
So
to
it never got to
never
city
got
council.
to city council
So they had to come back to us and say, we want to alter this.
because of the changing from what the planning commission had approved.
And by sign face, you mean if I have a billboard that has signs on both sides at the top, that's 2 sign faces?
Yes, basically a sign face there.
So if I replace, if I'm getting it right, if I take that existing sign, I replace one side of it as a digital, the other side has to go, or could go away?
it would have to go away,
Have to go
or
away.
be blank.
Or they could take it away from somewhere else, I
Yeah.
assume. So then all you're left with is essentially the back of a sign.
Yes, it'd be the back of a sign. There would no be billboard on it, or no
Gotcha.
message on it. Then.
Okay.
But they've got, like I said, we've included some pictures in the staff report of examples of what they were doing. I think basically all of them would basically be 1 face forward then, and they've got some more pictures to kind of show what they're proposing to do if this item would be approved.
Right. Daniel, sorry about that.
So, in that existing spot, there's 4 billboards today.
Yes.
So if we took down those 4, we could put 2 on the front here or 1 on either side. Is that proposal?
Basically, their proposal, yeah, I think if they took the 4 down, then you could reconstruct one with basically back-to-back then the location, because on that, then per their proposed proposal before you today.
Okay. Yeah, I remember this coming by in December, and I was really excited, and I live right next to here, and I've been waiting for this sign to come down. And I'm disappointed it still hasn't, but I don't know. The city's trying to revitalize Ridgewood Avenue, and this is a really ugly spot, and I don't think these billboards help much. So, I don't know. So the top one would be LED, and it looks like it's gonna be a second elevation high. Is that, from the image I see here, that's the proposal, is that it's gonna be, the bottom one will be removed and be moved to the top?
You
Or is that
could, they
just-
could do whatever they
Based
want.
on,
They
I
just
believe
have
on the
4
rendering that they
faces.
surprised, they can kind of discuss more about it, was basically it seemed like the entire structure would come down and a new one would be built up there with that one
Oh, I
sign
gotcha.
facing, I think, the northbound traffic then, so.
I gotcha, okay. So
But
just
the
remember-
applicant has the graphics to go over that then.
You were gonna ask them about the sound systems they're putting on. Did you?
Sound systems?
Yeah.
God, I hope not.
Oh, okay. Maybe I
No.
misunderstood.
No.
You good for now? With
I'm done with my comments,
Tim?
yeah.
Scott?
So I don't know if this is even the right place for this. My concern about the US 1 area is the brightness of the LED signs. If you drive up through, say, South Daytona, they've got a couple of those where you go in front of, what is it, the old Sunshine Park Mall, where you can see the red LED sign from the river on a boat at 10 o'clock at night, as if there was a fire in the parking lot. I'm a little concerned for the neighbors in the surrounding area if that level of brightness is something that, and I don't know if that's something that goes into the
Yeah, regardless
Code.
of where it would go, I-95 or Ridgewood, there are specifications regarding the brightness to basically ensure that it's compatibility with the neighboring properties. So.
That's, yeah, 95 didn't bother me nearly as much, but if you're gonna go around people who may have houses there, I just thought that might be an
The
issue.
regulations, the one that's at, on the east side of the bridge falls under the regulations, right?
Yeah, there's existing regulations
As
that
far
we
as
basically
lighting.
mirrored
Okay.
similar to that one. Then.
Yeah.
That was my only question. I'm good.
Dan?
So basically, what this amendment is doing, in the original that was presented to us back in December, we were just saying, okay, you can take one down and then you have to work to remove all the signs, the flat signs in Port Orange. But now we're saying, we can put up one LED and then we'll have to remove 2 of the flat signs.
No, back in December, it was basically take 2 of the flat static signs down in exchange for basically reconfiguring and repurposing one with LED. And that is still the same request
Still
here.
the same, okay,
The only
good.
change is that instead of basically only being able to do them on billboards that are on 95, this would allow them to do it either on I-95 or at that one location in Ridgewood. That's the
Okay.
only change from their request.
All right, I had it in my head that it was kind of constraining how many they were going to have to take down, but now you're saying.
The ratio did not change, it's just more basically the location where they could be repurposed then. It's what's being changed with this initial, or this proposal here.
But they only own 4 in the city, right? Within the city limits?
I believe there's
Six.
4 on 95, and then I think the one on Ridgewood, and then of course the LED one that's on the other side of the bridge then, which is not part of this discussion at all.
Right.
Gotcha, yeah, I knew they
Right.
didn't have a lot of them, but, okay.
They basically came back and said, "Ooh, we got 4 more we need to deal with." But we'll let the applicants. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Applicant, if you'd like to come forward here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I just hit that one. I'm not gonna do it yet. I'm old school. I'm gonna pass out some paper.
Oh, you got it.
You want one, right?
I sure can.
I felt like Penny just had a "don't touch my computer" panic. He was jumping across
Oh, you can just leave that on there, and then I'm gonna have Peter do
feel like
that
I'm in
part.
school.
Just go to the beginning, just the opening page there.
Oh, just on his?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
so you don't need this.
No, I'm not.
Look at Josh Wagner on there.
Okay, happy to be here, guys. Rob Merrill with
Hello,
Proud Gold.
Jim.
1 Daytona Boulevard. I've been appearing before this body for almost 40 years.
gonna say a long time.
This is the first time that I've appeared with egg on my face. Maybe not, but this is the only one I can remember. So back in December, I simply forgot about the US 1 sign needing to, the importance of it to the company. Peter's going to get up and tell you a little bit about Lamar's. I think it's important that you know the people you're dealing with here. They're good corporate citizens. They've done a lot, not just for Port Orange, but for the surrounding area. And he'll have something to say about that and hopefully be helpful to you. But I'll say that this is a simple matter of me not recognizing the importance of that US 1 sign to them as a company. For those of you who have been around here a while, you might remember when US 1 was a major north-south artery before 95 got built in the late 60s all the way to Miami. And even since then, I mean, I think, when I travel, when you're on the north side of the inlet and you're going to New Smyrna back and forth, I usually use US 1. So it is a heavily traveled part of our road system. And so that's why it's important to the company, of course. The proposal that you see in front of you, if you look at those first 2 pages, the reason why I blew them up, I know there's a smaller picture of it, because you mentioned how much you didn't like those existing signs. I blew them up just so you can see them. This is a Google Earth image that I just blew up. The first one is the northbound sign. My friend Paul Rice is on there. And one thing you'll see with these signs is these are mostly local people that advertise with the billboards with Lamar. You see my lawyer dude friend down there too. Also a local guy on the southbound. So these are the existing signs that are going to be removed. And what I failed to explain to you back in December was, if you look at the 3rd page, actually what that shows you is the southbound. So the back of it is going to be basically camouflaged. We could do 2, I guess, based on the ratio exchange, but I can tell you that the objective is for one of the 95 billboards to convert, one of the Lamar's billboards to convert to digital. And I think you guys have seen, we talked about this in December, the idea that digital has now become very accepted. It's aesthetically pleasing as long as you abide by the brightness characteristics and the requirements. It doesn't cause anybody any concern or problem. And then if you look at the northbound on the next page, that I don't know why we have this big thing on the left side, but the right side is the actual the replacement for what was there before. So what you see on the first 2 pages is what's there now. What you see on this 3rd page and the previous one is what would be there based on this proposal. So I think it's a significant, and then I also included a couple of the examples of what 95 would look like with the digital on the last 2 pages. But what you're getting here is a significant improvement in terms of, it doesn't eliminate all of the non-995 billboards. There will be one still on US 1. That's kind of what it comes down to here. That's the thing that changed. I messed up, didn't tell you about it. I just didn't know about it. And then as soon as I got a hold of Peter over here, he told me what was really supposed to happen, and here we are. So with that, instead of answering questions for you guys, I'd like for Peter to get up. He's got a nice little presentation, and then we'll both be available to answer any questions that you guys have for us, okay? Blaine, you coming up too? And this is Blaine Benz, also with Lamar.
Right.
Yeah, just state your names and addresses for us for the record.
Peter Costanza, address is 278 Clubhouse Boulevard, New Smyrna Beach. Resident for Volusia County, 11 years. Good evening. We put a PowerPoint presentation together, a little about Lamar, who we are. Yeah, sure, you see our signs. We don't have that many in Port Orange. We have less than 10. But our commitment to our communities, to Volusia County, our commitment to innovation. Lamar's changed over the years. Lamar's a 123-year-old company, 123 years. Volusia County, we're going on almost 60 years in this county. And let's see here.
I thought I had a little icon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Penny said turn here. So Lamar really runs like a family business. We're a big corporation, but they let the manager, which is me, in the East Coast, kind of run it like a family business. Get involved, spend the money with chambers, so on and so forth, which obviously we're involved in a lot of chambers, including Port Orange. This just, well, Lamar started in 1902 in Pensacola, Florida. Small little billboard company. Something that Maria said, safety's first with Lamar. We in terms of, let's face it, we're in the hurricane. Florida's big with hurricanes, so on and so forth. The sign that we have there currently on US, actually both on 95 and on US 1, they're I-beam structures. They're grandfathered in right now. They've been up there 50 years. I think that one's 1981, the oldest lease that we saw on the one on US 1. But safety's first for us, and the signs are over 150 miles an hour in terms of wind, because we have to, in terms of city, state codes. Lamar has over 160,000 signs across the whole country. Let me see here. Lamar has a long history of public service. And what's public service? Public service is we just put things on the billboard, especially digital, obviously, is really important. We do public messaging a lot. And when I came here in 2014, the deal that we had prior, because there was a hurricane that involved the billboard that we have on the Dunlatin Bridge that we put up right in the bottom. That particular billboard is a back-to-back digital. And I know there was a deal done with Port Orange, so on and so forth. And I've been here 11 years. I haven't heard one complaint. I had one complaint, I'm sorry, with the neighbor behind us, because it sits directly behind the neighbor. They said, I think Tim might have called me and said, what's going on? They can see the back of the billboard. I go, Tim, I can take care of that. I'll put a picture of a crane or pelican. And I did that, because they looked at the gaudy metal and stuff, and we put a nice picture there. This just talks about Lamar in terms of how big we are and so on. I don't really want to talk about that. But in Volusia County, I have about 500 billboards in this area. My territory that I run as a manager from Jacksonville all the way to Palm Bay. But the bulk of mine is Volusia County. In Volusia County, I do have, currently in Volusia County, I have 16 digitals currently. And 2 of them are in Port Orange. This is a picture of the bridge that, if you go east, that's where our billboard is, as everybody sees. It's down there. Something that you probably know about, but every year we give you guys 6 weeks. The city of Port Orange, 4th of July, a spectacular you guys do down. We just did that. The mayor's golf tournament at Cypress Ed, we put that billboard up. The Rock the Park Arts Festival for Port Orange, we did that. But you guys get 6 weeks. The Halloween festival that you guys do at City Center Park. So we give 6 weeks to you, donated space. And also we're incorporated with FBI. We participate in the FBI program that we donate billboards when, as along the interstate, you see the state has even got little billboards when they want to put a license plate. It's a kidnap, so on and so forth. A kidnap happened. We do the same thing with the FBI. That runs across, depending on the state, the area. We put them on as many billboards as we do, and it runs 3 days, 1 day, all depends if they catch them or not and how long. The FBI kind of controls it for us. As we all know about the Dexter's Law, I just did a big campaign, free public service for the Dexter's Law, as we all know what happened in regards to that. But I put like 7 billboards along Volusia County regarding the abuse of animals. And then if anybody recall, remember a fallen hero that was in Ormond Beach, the police, Robert and Michael. Again, another public service that we did, truly, it was a space that we donated in terms of a kidney. Within, I think, it was 3 months we put this up. We saved this lady's life. And it was a whole story about how it happened and so on and so forth. Amber Alerts. Very similar to FBI, but we have Amber Alerts all the time that we run. During the Louisiana floods, we did that. When Ozzy, what's great is with digital billboards is when someone passes away, Lamar's big on, they send us a notice saying, hey, put this up right away. Whoever dies, we put it up just to give notice, you know. Billboards work, right? This is a great billboard. I love this billboard, FEMA. We work with FEMA here, and I wanted to show you how we had this ad during a hurricane. This is 2 billboards that were there. That one is taken down is because during hurricanes we take down the vinyls. Because if not, they rip to shreds and they'll end up in the middle of the street, so on and so forth. If you look at digital there, it's still standing. We run messaging about within like 72, depending on when the hurricane hits, but we run all our messages when hurricane hits. We did it on the Dunlap Bridge, the last hurricane for the 48 hours prior, where to go. I-95's open, direct traffic with our digital billboards, and so on and so forth. That's just this regards a case study regarding digital technology. I know there was a message about the brightness. The brightness, believe it or not, we have it set so depending on how it's angled, you don't see the sides. You can be on the side of the billboard and you won't even see it. It will be black to you. So it's very hard unless that house is in front of you. It's not gonna be in the direction of any houses. In this particular, the one on 95, the one on US 1, there's no houses there. I know there's some houses in the back, but they won't have no effect on it the way we angle it, and so on and so forth. Just like the Dunlap Bridge one. Digital billboard safety just talks about, you know, it's just facts about, you know, they don't create more accidents. You know, is it a myth? And, you know, people would go against us, and this talked about what state and local governments have reviewed the accident reports, and it does not create more accidents. Actually, having the light, depending on where it's at, sometimes bring lightness to the area that's facing the roadways. Just Lamar in our community. I kind of talked about it before, but Lamar gives 6 weeks a year on the Dunlap Bridge, and it's strictly City of Port Orange public service messaging regarding any events that you guys have. You get 6 weeks of that. And this is the picture that what it would look like. I think Rob hunted it, but that's one that on 95 what it would look like. And I think the next one, I'm sorry, go back. And that's that one. And then, you know, we run, like I was talking about, emergency alerts and EAS programs, Amber Alerts, FEMA, we talked about FBI, emergency management. We work with emergency management. We work with Seminole County constantly, all the time with them. It's just our office is in Daytona Beach. I think that's it, right?
Cool.
Questions? Hopefully I can answer.
Stan?
Yeah, no more questions here.
Scott?
I'm good, sir.
Daniel?
No questions?
Bo?
Digital signs during a hurricane, how susceptible are they to blowing down or?
170, I think it's 175 miles an hour.
Is that right?
175. And what's important about the digital, they're always one monopole. If you look at the billboards now, they're antiquated. The ones that are older, you see on 95, you see on the one on US 1. They're antiquated. That's why we're updating and making them a little prettier. I know this one we're going to do some flowers in the back of it. I wanted to put 2 t-shirts on the back to back, but I think based on our criteria, I think I can't because the ratio. I'm very limited in the signs I have. Lamar's not going to grow anymore based on the criteria of the ordinance in the city of Port Orange. So we're limited to what we have, and we're reducing. So just I know Rob mentioned it, but the sign on US 1, it's of those 4 signs, it's about 1,100. It's 1,100 square feet. We're reducing down with one side down to 380 feet. It's a significant number there. And I know Rob took up my thunder there, but he said we're 80% or higher in terms of local business. That's what I cherish that on, because it's not your Coca-Colas, it's not your national business. It's 80% your local State Farms, your local people that are in lawyers.
Lawyers.
But you know,
Real estate companies.
it's literally 80%.
Politicians
And
and real
that's
estate
not a fictitious, that's a true. That's one of the reasons why I moved here. Because I wanted more control. I wanted to work in a local area. I ran New York City for 10 years, and that was a national market. I ran the biggest billboard company in the country for
That was
10
the
years.
reason you moved here? Because
Yeah,
of
the water.
It wasn't the water.
It was the water. It was the water. It was the water. And I actually bought a house in Port Orange too. But it's the water. But I love the local advertising. I love talking to the local people, not the national people, and that's important. And
Yeah, we got a lot of local people here.
Bo.
I know you're a train. I know.
There's a
Trent,
lot of
but
trees in the forest, Bo.
everybody meets from Michigan, Ohio, New York, New Jersey.
generation.
I'm born and raised.
Yeah.
Any comments, Maria?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Any public comment? Anyone wish to speak to this one? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Do we have any comments, questions, ideas, anything you want to mention?
Nope.
I assume you're ready to vote. If you'll please call the roll.
Stan Schmidt,
Yes.
Scott Stager,
Yes.
Daniel Malagal,
Abstain.
Maria Mills Bonet,
Yes.
Rocco Fahmy,
Yes.
Tom Shorter.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. All right. No.
Penny, penny, penny.
Moving on to our next case.
He's probably not aware of that.
Case is going to be number rezoning -25-0004. Can I get a motion, please?
So I move to approve
Nope.
case number DCAM 25.
We're on a different one
I
there.
got the
Bo.
wrong one?
Yeah, above.
Two
it.
five
Top of page
25-0004.
Okay, that one.
Get it.
I'll
Can I get a
move to-
second? We know what you
Second.
I'll second her.
We have a motion and a second. Case is administrative rezoning for 12 properties located on the east side of the city of Port Orange, generally east of Spruce Creek Road.
Yeah, it's kicking.
Proposed rezonings are to resolve zoning inconsistencies, bring the properties into compliance with the city's comprehensive plan, and ensure consistency with the surrounding zoning patterns, as well as the historic and/or current use of the property.
LP Cruz Planning. Well, you just did my whole presentation.
That's it? We can move on?
If you read your
So,
packet, it's time to
yeah.
vote.
I mean, basically, that's what it is. I was gonna actually say we've revised it to east of Nova because we did at the end add the one property down on Devon Street, which the city more recently purchased to put a new lift station there. So that's why we're saying east of Nova now instead of Spruce Creek. Most of them are east of Spruce Creek. But it does include 12 properties, and all of this is to address zoning inconsistency. So staff has prepared this to ensure compliance with the city's future land use map, consistency with the surrounding area, as well as the historic or intended use of the property. So there's 4 properties proposed to be rezoned to neighborhood preservation, and all of those have historically been developed with a single-family home. You can kind of see the 2 pictures down at the bottom. There's the 3 houses on Jefferson, which one of them, we did 1 to make 4 last month, and another one on Fleming. And then there's 2 properties on Dunlawton that are proposed to go to office residential transition. That's to be there was the inconsistency with the future land use map. The future land use has them as office residential transition, and the zoning was for single family. So that just didn't make sense on Dunlawton in that area. And then there's 6 properties that are city owned that are proposed to go to government public use, and most of those are either currently developed. So the picture up at the top left shows about 4 of them, yeah. So both of those ponds encompass 4 of the 6 properties that are being rezoned to government public use. Right now, they've got like an old PCD and some multifamily zoning on it, but they've been a pond for a while. And then the one over to the upper right, that's the Devon Street property that was recently, purchased to put a lift station. There used to be an old house there that had flooded. And then the 6th one is right next to the train depot park, where we purchased that property on Herbert Street to expand the train depot park.
Oh,
So with that, we're just proposing to change these two properties. All the details as far as, the addresses, what they are now, what they're going to, are in tables in the staff report. There's also 3 exhibits that lay out the properties. There's some 11 by 17 maps where you can you zoom in and take a look at those there in the staff report. So staff's here just to answer any questions you may have about that, obviously recommending approval.
Cool, thank you. Maria?
No questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm
Vote.
good.
You good? Daniel?
Nope, right at all, thank you.
Scott?
I'm good.
Stan?
Are the ones on Jefferson, are they in the same position that one was a couple of months ago, where they're trying to get?
They're not currently in the grant program. They have the potential to in the future, but as of today, they're not
Yeah,
currently.
because they had to do this to get into.
That's why
was
that
one
one
of the
we
first
moved
guy.
forward fast, because
Right.
they were actively working on a
In the
grant.
process.
Yep. And the Fleming Avenue, that's the same scenario?
It's also a single-family home. There's actually another property adjacent to it that we were hoping to incorporate as well. It's another right next door. But obviously, we don't rezone properties without
Right.
owner authorization. That particular owner decided they didn't want to be part of it, so we left it alone. But yes, the Fleming one is a historic single-family home that had Ridgewood Development zoning on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Side question, the Devon Street property that
Mhm.
was bought and the house removed, is that gonna be improved as far as
Yeah, it's
appearance?
yes, yeah. That's the current Google image that's there. I didn't have a chance to get like a current picture, but yeah, they're building a lift station there, so it'll look like most city lift station properties. It'll have
Gotcha.
grass and the
Yeah,
fence
just
and
curious
landscape.
about that. The only thing I noticed was on your exhibit 1
Mhm.
was the name of the city that's
Yeah,
in the last 4.
I was gonna mention that.
Scrivener's error
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Spell check didn't catch it.
Which one was that? Scott?
It would be on
Page 5.
The last page there, last 4
It
lines.
says
in
City
there.
of Port Orin.
Oh.
Oh.
okay.
Orin.
Oh my goodness, sorry about that. Thank you. We'll get that corrected.
Well, we didn't buy all the letters.
That's right. Can
Usually
we
you
get a
catch those.
consonant?
I
It
don't
hasn't
know.
been rezoned for that yet.
Great, any other questions for Penny? You're good with that?
Yeah, no
Thank
question.
you very much.
What is it, right?
On the
Right.
Roselle property
Properties
and that
around
parcel,
Mhm.
is there any plans to build anything there? Because it looks like there's a house there now that's just dilapidated.
No, there's nothing there. It's pretty much vacant. We've talked to the property owner. There's nothing under review right now. There's 2 brothers that own the larger triangle piece, and they do want to eventually develop it, but nothing right now. And then there's somebody who owns the little one that's working with them, that wants to do a veterans memorial in that area.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Anything else? You good?
Good.
All right, thank you. Anything from the public? Any comments from the public? I see none.
All our
Bring it back to
public
the
left.
commission. If no other comments, assume you're ready to vote. Please call the roll.
Stan Schmidt,
Aye.
Scott Stager,
Yes.
Daniel Malaga,
Yes.
Mary Mills Benet,
Yes.
Bobo Femi,
Yes,
Thomas Jordan.
Yes, that passes. Moving on to our last item of
Attend
business
twice
here
today?
is
Crazy.
LDC, another Land Development Code text amendment for multiple chapters, DCAM-25-0003. Can I get a motion for approval?
Motion to approve DCAM-25-0003.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. I'm not gonna steal your thunder by reading it all, so.
All right.
Tim.
Do some work today, Ben. Tim Berman, Community Development. Yep, this is a kind of administrative LDC text amendment. There was some recent Senate bill and House bill that got adopted that we have to make a change. And while we're bringing that forward, there was a couple of smaller items here that we wanted to address in terms of the code and make it more efficient then. So there are 4 items here. The first one is regarding signs, not billboards, but basically the individual business signs there. We currently allow the commercial businesses or multi-tenant complexes to have the LED sign. Right now, the code requires a 60-second display time. Since we pretty much put that in, we've been getting questions about the number and reducing that there so they can have more advertisement on there for tenants and also specials then. And as we've started looking around with other cities here, for the most part, we were one of the ones that had the largest time frame of 60 seconds, while a lot of the other cities ran between 15 to 10 seconds then. Something else that kind of came up is that the Culvers on Dunlawton Avenue for about a year had their LED sign running about 10 seconds. And we were working with them to get that resolved with code enforcement, and we never got any complaints from anyone about that 10 seconds, and they asked the same thing, and we're like, yeah, valid point then. But I think once you look at those signs, because mostly the LED signs are on your larger corridors where you're basically having the 45 to 50 mile an hour speed limits there,
Yeah.
that 10 seconds is basically, you know, the cars go by before it really changes there in terms of that then. So the thought was basically to allow that to be there, because a lot of with the newer technologies, the the commercial businesses that go with the LED signs, they're getting more improved signs. They're not as clunky as before and bulky. They're more streamlined. So, and we do get quite a bit of people interested in doing those signs. But once they see that 60-second time frame, they kind of shy away from that then. So this proposed amendment is really to kind of shore us up with what other municipalities do, and really across the country there. We looked at, you know, safety standards, and that time frame that we've suggested, 10 seconds, is well within there. That's been studied then. And then based off of where our code only allows those signs to go, commercial properties in your main corridor, we're recommending to basically adopt a 10-second minimum for the display time. The second item is, we kind of discussed this quite a bit. I wish the engineer from Dutch Brothers had stayed here to help me present there on the parking space size. But, you know, as Penny and I were writing the variants here for this, and we're like, well, just get the old, get the staff report from that one that we did before, and we'll just copy and paste it. And it's like, okay, how many times have we done this before? It gets approved. And when we start looking at the other cities and that table, and then we've had this table for like 15 years, and it's always been that way. And I think, you know, once we start looking at terms of what Port Orange has in terms of, we are really in the redevelopment stage there and infill development. We're not like large tracts of land where basically targets and stuff like that are coming here then. So the thought was basically is let's go ahead and do 9 foot. That way basically we're more consistent with what's around there. Also too, that will help us in redevelopment efforts moving forward there. I understand too with the larger truck, it is, you know, that's why when my kids hate when we take the truck out to the store, because they know they're parking at the far end of the parking lot and they're walking in. They like it when we take the car because we park a little bit closer there, because I don't mind that then. But I think that's kind of the, you know, the scenario is like they said, smaller cars come in there and, you know, more to the outskirts of the parking lot for the bigger trucks then, and kind of walk in then. But the proposal is to go with 9 foot wide spaces. Again, like Penny reiterated in her report there too, a lot of the projects we've approved, she kind of rattled off quite a few of them there. We've seen no, you know, issues with the parking maneuverability there then, so we feel, you know, this is a change for the betterment of redevelopment and being consistent with other cities and municipalities. The third one is a code amendment basically for a setback. Currently, elevated wooden decks are required to meet this ratio of 5 foot setback plus 2 feet for every 1 foot above grade there. So like an elevated deck that's 10 foot tall requires a 23 foot side setback. But if you wanted to build a addition on your home and your side setback for your zoning district was 7.5 feet, and then put a deck on top of that, 7.5 foot would be the requirement then. So the thought was basically is to revise this so it's more consistent with other setbacks in our code, which will state is either equal to that side setback for the principal structure or the rear setback, or keep that formula, whichever is less than. We do get quite a few people, especially on Riverside Drive, looking to do decks that are elevated there in their property. And, you know, a lot of times that side setback and the rear setback, they can't do that then, and they kind of, you know, their question is like, so I can do addition on my house, I can do all these things, but not the deck then. It's like, you know, we kind of have to say, yes, that's the case of the code. So this is kind of shored up with other setbacks that we already have existing in the Port Orange there, and also too in general in terms of other types of additions that could be put on your house then. So this is just another, you know, amendment there. We feel that the setbacks would make sure that there's sufficient space in between, and is consistent with what the structures around there would be spaced out there. There would be no, you know, encroachment into side setbacks or rear setbacks then. The last one is an amendment that's really generated from the passing of Senate Bill 784 that states that the approval for subdivision plats and replats is to be an administrative approval process and no longer required to go before a public hearing process for approval then. So that's the requirement to go forward. So we're trying to align our code with that in terms of removing the requirements in there, saying that it has to go to Planning Commission and City Council for approval. And then also too, the state statute or the statute requires us to designate a city staff member to be the person who approves those plats. This code amendment does designate that person for the approval of the plats moving forward then. Again, that was not a code amendment that we wanted to prepare or thought this is a good idea. It's more of a state mandate that we had to follow, and we're trying to update our code to align with what those requirements are. So those are the 4 code amendments that we've got proposed in. Here to answer any questions. Staff's recommendation is approval on all 4 of them.
Who would that person be here for the approval?
For the plats.
This the community development director position.
Okay.
And I can designate someone.
Oh, sorry.
No questions.
Oh, you have any other questions?
On this, sir.
Daniel?
So on this porch or deck one,
Yes.
where did this formula come from? Because it seems
That's my only
very
question.
specific,
What was the
It's
original
been
thinking?
there for over 21 years.
right?
Because when I first started trying to figure that out was, I got it messed up a couple times.
It seems like somebody's trying to account for something falling into the neighbor's property.
Or maybe looking into the neighbor's yard from
Yeah,
your
or
elevated
my-
deck.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. But like I said, we get people that basically build, the screen room or the, a covered porch with the deck on top, there, then it's just kind of that, we've had similar there, then so it's kind of like, why can't I do this one type of improvement, but not the same, other type of improvement then. And, even too, some of the projects where they want to have like a 4 or 5 foot elevated deck too, it's just not the, 10 foot. Those are also running into issue on some of your smaller lots then too. So it's just not so much the 10 foot one, it's, anything that's kind of really above 1 foot above grade, we see a little bit, issues it runs into with.
So, like Scott said, it may be elevation above a fence seeing into your neighbor's property. I guess that's probably one thing. I'm just trying to think of all the ramifications if we approve this. Somebody put a lot of time and effort into this, and I'm not sure why, and I'd like to know what the reason was that they went through all this effort to
I
do
mean,
this.
other cities, for the most part, when you look at their setbacks for the elevated structure, again, we look through theirs.
Yep.
Theirs is, either a standard, 5 to 10 foot then, or equivalent to what the side yard and, or the rear yard setback is for the principal structure then.
Really?
I was thinking if I
Okay.
could build a 2-story extension and look out the window, how is that different from having a deck? So to your point, does it really make any difference if I can build an extension on my house right up in that same setback?
And most likely too, when the houses are constructed, for the most part in Port Orange here, they're all in line with each other then. So it's not like we have the staggered back and forth then, that you'd be in the backyard, and most of them are put in rear yards anyways then, on that one, so you kind of be looking out the rear yard side then.
My guess is looking out into somebody else's pool.
Maybe. I should have looked this up more because I didn't pay that close attention to this earlier. I meant to. All right.
You good?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Tim.
I'm good.
Dan?
Nope.
You're good? Yeah, my only question, so on that last one, the subdivision plats, they're
Yes.
saying any new plat or any replat doesn't come here, doesn't come to planning commission, it just goes to the designated official who can approve it.
Now, we still review them per the code, just as we would review it before it comes before you. And I think for the most part, every time we bring a plat before you, we state it has met all the requirements of land development code then.
Yeah.
So it's not that anything differs in terms of the process for removing it or reviewing it, or the statutes that they have in terms of preparing it, the third party signature. Also too, if there's a variance requested regarding the subdivision itself, then that still has to come before the
Right.
planning commission.
That's right.
On that then. So I think, we had one for the shops at Summer Trees Plaza. Recently here that we had to do a setback or a variance for basically the setback of the building so that can move forward there. This does not change that. You would still have to see that setback and approve that setback, and then if you approved it, then it met all other criteria, then staff would approve the plat then.
Yeah, it's really the key, so changes beyond what the rules say.
What the code states
Still
still
has
come,
public-
yeah, that
yeah.
still is in there then, so.
Good, good.
I
Cool.
think they indicated it was more about, efficiency, if with the state, applies to the state of Florida, there could be 3 or 4 cities that basically just drag their feet in doing that then, and that's what dragged code in to make the change, and then we all have to follow it then.
Got it.
It's a Senate
Yeah.
bill. I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, no, we don't, I just wanted to understand the
Yeah.
process, make sure that it was clear how.
But yeah,
how
as long as
everything
it's
works.
meeting our current code, it can be done administratively. If there's any deviations, they still come before the planning commission and or then to city council then, if necessary.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, 9 feet. I want a foot. Sorry.
Thank you, Tim.
No problem.
Any public comment
Again,
on this case?
That's just the minimum size. If people, developers want to develop more, wider than 9,
Right.
we have stuff that prevents that then.
Of course, yeah.
So we'll get some designated spots for you.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Any public comment?
Yeah,
Seeing
The
none?
ghosts of
Have to
council's
yell a little
past.
louder.
Yeah, I know. Bring it back. You'll call the roll, please, on this one.
Stan Schmidt,
Yes.
Scott Stager,
Yes.
Daniel Malagal,
Yes.
Maria Mills Benay,
Yes.
Bill Bofamy,
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
Yes, passes. Thank you very much. Moving into other business, commissioner comments. Stan,
Nothing.
Scott.
Can we do something about the heat? Other than that, I'm good.
I want to make air conditioned Cypress Head.
Like, all of outside.
That's right. Dana.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Bo?
The only thing I have is, could you make these amendments a little bit larger? To be read, so we can see them clearly.
You mean large print?
Yeah, larger.
You have reading glasses on your shirt.
Yeah, but, they,
Maria? What do you think? Thank you.
Nothing. Great job by staff as usual.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm good.
Good. Everybody have a cool rest of the week. Staff comments, anything for us? Sure. All right.
Public.
Any public comments?
Crickets.
Seeing none, call this meeting to an end for adjourn. Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. Thank you.